Unfortunately for all of you, I don't have any relationship advice or anecdotes or pictures to share, but if you find me afterwards and we grab a beer, I have a lot I can talk to you about. So first of all, thank you to SaaS Insider and all of you for being here today and giving us the opportunity. I'll be talking about essentially growing recurring revenue, and I'll feature heavily our latest report on subscription and billing management. Our latest report, global report on subscription and billing management. And a lot of the insights that we share are actually building on the themes that Chris talked about. So I think it's a good segue into into this session. Okay, so what I'll go through will break down into 4 broad areas. We'll talk a little bit about the report itself, give you a flavor of what methodology went into it and who we talked to. I'll share with you some of the high-level contextual kind of insights on why this is relevant, and then go into, and they focus on 2 areas, again, very related to what Chris talked about earlier. The first one being around churn and how they prioritize churn reduction, and the second one all about growing revenue by improving the buyer experience. So, you already heard about me. I'm Bickey. I'm part of the Stripe team working with startups across APAC, and I've been at Stripe just over a year. Joining me later on in the presentation to do a cool demo are my colleague Sobrina, who is part of our SaaS platforms team, specialized in working with B2B SaaS companies across the region. And we have Amos as well, who's a solution architect. We're all based in Singapore, and in fact, for Amos, this is his first visit to India, so please give him a warm welcome. There you go, Amos. And this is the report I'll be featuring heavily. You can find it online, or you can just scan the QR code here, but if you just search for Stripe subscription and billing management on Google, I'm pretty sure you'll find it. Okay, so now let me tell you a little bit more about what the report actually is. So we commissioned this research and surveyed 1,500 business leaders across the globe about the topic of recurring revenue, subscription, billing, all of these kinds of topics. And the chart's a little bit of an eyesore, but I'll go from left to right. The business leaders we surveyed were part of businesses of all shapes and sizes. So from small, early stage startups all the way to large enterprises, 1,500 of them. The functional areas that these business leaders were in ranged all the way from executives, like C-level executives, to product and finance leaders as well. So again, we cover the gamut, if you will, of people that would be interested in this particular area. And then the final one, and I think the most important one here, is every single business we interviewed had a sizable amount of their revenue coming from a recurring revenue model. In fact, the majority had the largest part of their revenue coming from a subscription type model. So again, very relevant, I hope, to all of the audience over here. So now let me take you through some of the high-level insights that will hopefully set the scene for the kind of key action items that I think you can take from all of this. So let's make this a little bit interactive. We asked all of these business leaders, like I said, across different kinds of companies, different functions. When we were talking to them about their customers, we asked them, are you concerned about subscription fatigue in your customer base? And again, remember, these are businesses with primarily, or in many cases, primarily recurring revenue models. Would like to see a show of hands. How many of you think a third of businesses said, yes, we are concerned about subscription fatigue? 33%, okay, a couple of hands. 66%? Okay, a few more, maybe about 10, 15% of the audience. 75%. Okay, who said 66%? Okay, so the majority, maybe about 30 to 40% of the group. Okay, the answer is 66%. So 2/3 of the 1,500 people we surveyed shared that they are concerned about subscription fatigue amongst their customer base. So again, something to keep in mind. And why is that? We went into all of the kind of qualitative feedback, and we essentially dug out 3 themes. You can go into the report and get all the juicy details yourself, but the 3 themes we picked up were, first one being inflation. Of course, inflation has an impact on how people conduct their business. The second one, just general price sensitivity. They're more conscious about price now, and they want to rethink their approach. And then the third one is actually, again, something that Chris mentioned, just more competition in the space. So for the products and services they're selling to their customers, they feel it's become more competitive of late, and it will become more competitive. So those were the 3 themes: inflation, price sensitivity, and growing competition. That being said, even though there is this concern around subscription fatigue, and as I mentioned earlier, there's a prioritization on churn reduction, there's a lot of optimism around the future of a recurring revenue business model. Close to 80% of the business leaders we surveyed said, no, we are actually very optimistic about the future of this kind of revenue stream, this kind of subscription-based revenue stream. And what's interesting here is across both B2B and B2C businesses, that confidence level was pretty high. Tech companies, I guess we're the most optimistic. We're at the highest end of the scale, you can see right there. And in media and entertainment, where it's probably a bit more B2C, a little bit less confident. But generally speaking, there's a lot of optimism in the subscription business model, or the recurring revenue business model. Okay, so now before I go into the kind of meat of the presentation and the core kind of takeaways, talk a little bit more about what the core insights were. When we look at this audience, almost half of them said they expect an increase in churn over the next year or so. So this is their customers, they expect more of them to churn out than before. So that's again a really important takeaway and a really good backdrop for how we need to think about our businesses and our growth plan going forward. On the other side, if you look to the right side of the chart, they're also talking about how they can grow revenue. And they're doing that in two broad ways, or they're thinking about two broad ways. About 40% of the group said, we want to look at how we can optimize our pricing. And again, I'll talk a little bit more detail about that. And then another group also said, over 70% said, we're going to look at, as we look to sell globally to global customers, we want to optimize the number of payment methods we have and how we can localize those payment methods to meet our customers in a way that they want to buy from us. Again, I'll go into that in a bit more detail as well. So let's start with churn. Again, this is probably the priority. If close to half of these businesses are saying we expect churn to grow, that's clearly going to be a priority. Again, this chart might be a little bit hard to read, but there are essentially two kinds of churn. There's voluntary churn, and then there's involuntary churn. 44% of those we surveyed said, we expect voluntary churn to grow. We expect customers willingly moving away from our product or service. And of course, as a business, you're going to try and improve your products or service or meet your customer where you need to meet them in order to address that voluntary churn behavior. There's not a lot from a Stripe perspective that we can necessarily do there. What I wanted to talk about was the involuntary churn piece. Actually, 41% of the businesses we surveyed said, we expect an increase in involuntary churn. These are customers that you have that want to continue, but for some reason or the other are churning out. How can we stop that bleeding, if you will? And when we dig a bit deeper and we ask them a few more questions around what is it that you feel is driving this involuntary churn, we realized that a third of that group, so a third of that 41%, are telling us that they don't actually have any kind of revenue recovery tools when a customer is buying from them. So things like checking for expired credit cards or following up with a customer if a payment has been declined. So to us, that's money left on the table, potentially money left on the table. And as Stripe, a payments kind of financial infrastructure company working with businesses all over the world, we know a thing or two about revenue recovery. And in 2022 alone, we helped our customers recover over $3 billion of revenue. So this is actually a big deal that I would urge you all to think about going into the next year as you have some understanding that churn might happen in a way that it hasn't happened before. So again, this is a big deal. Over $3 billion is the kind of impact that we've had in the last year or so. It's going to happen again? No. Okay, let's carry on. Okay, so now let's talk a little bit more about growing revenue and how we can improve the buyer experience. So we already said before that about 40% of businesses are looking at pricing models. Again, Chris talked about how companies are looking at different kinds of pricing as well, and how companies are looking to increase their pricing. And actually that relates quite strongly to our survey as well, where despite churn and despite the price sensitivity that people are aware of, only a quarter of the businesses said that they are actually going to lower prices. We actually think that's a larger portion of businesses, though, will look at new pricing models. And I'm going to go into some of those that are being considered, okay? So not so much about lowering prices, more about being more flexible with your pricing overall. So again, all the juicy details are in the report itself, and I urge you guys to look at it. Most of the businesses we spoke to already had some kind of flat-based pricing model, but what we saw emerge as a trend were definitely tier-based and usage-based pricing models. So I think most people here would know what those are, but let me go into an example. Midjourney, both people here familiar with Midjourney? Really hot AI company, generative AI company right now. They use Stripe, and they've actually moved from a tier-based pricing model to also offer usage-based pricing. The whole concept for this was they have different kinds of customers that they're learning about on the fly, and they want to be able to be flexible and be able to offer them the kind of pricing that meets them at their needs. So again, if you've got growth on your mind, and you've got churn as a backdrop, offering different kinds of pricing is a way that you might be able to A, stop the churn, but also B, potentially grow and meet new and bring new customers into your business. Another way that we've seen emerge as a really, I guess, like a favorite of the audience that we surveyed in order to get new customers was to offer free trials. Again, that's probably not a surprise to most people here in the room, but free trials came up as something that over half of the businesses we looked at were looking to introduce over the next year or so. So again, not so much lowering prices, but at least helping buyers through that consideration phase, getting them into the buyer funnel, giving them some free usage of the product in order to then follow up with them and be able to show the value and then hopefully bring them onto the right kind of pricing plan that makes sense for them and for you. The last thing before I go into our cool demo is, again, just to talk about payment methods. So if you think about businesses selling globally, in fact, I'd love to hear from the audience here. How many of you are selling to markets outside of India? Okay, so it seems like the majority of the group here is. So as you sell in international markets, US, Europe, you have to be aware of the kind of payment methods that a buyer, your potential buyer, might use. And I think that's something that really resonated with the audience we interviewed. Over 70% said that they're looking to add more payment methods to meet the buyers and make that that transaction process more convenient for them. So again, one of those growth levers that you can look at over the next year is about adding those payment methods. So I'm going to introduce Sav and Emma to come up on stage again. They're going to take you through, of course, as Stripe is a payments and financial infrastructure company, we think we can help a lot with these. But rather than tell you how we might be able to help, we thought that it would be a good idea to actually showcase our features and our services to you. So.
Thanks, Bickey. Hi, everyone. Bickey's introduced us. I'm Sabrina from the Stripe team, from our SaaS partnerships team, and I also have Amos here from our solution architecture team. Really excited to kick off the demo because the conversations we've had in the last 2 days have told us that a lot of you are looking for kind of quick ways to get set up with a billing solution. And so that's really what we're here to show today. For the purposes of the demo, I'm actually going to be a pretend SaaS founder, chatting to Amos about some of the challenges I'm facing. So let's jump right in. So hey Amos.
Hey, Sav.
I'm actually been working with my co-founder on a generative AI SaaS product for the last few months. We've been working really hard on our MVP and we're ready to kind of start collecting revenue from our early users. One big challenge I'm facing is I really do not have developer bandwidth to work on any integration outside of my core product. But I am still looking to get set up with something to start collecting revenue.
Hey, Sabrina, that's great. You know what, I think it's something that we can actually help with. So let me just show you how we could get you set up on a subscription and start collecting your first dollar within 10 minutes. So we're going to start here within your Stripe dashboard on the home page. So to create product, we're going to go over to the products page and click on this button, add product, to start defining that subscription. So hey Sabrina, what are you going to call your product?
Yeah, I think we're gonna call it Stripe GPT for enterprise.
Sounds great. Okay, let me just keep that in. So I'm just typing in one hand. Awesome. All right. And how are you thinking of pricing this product?
So we are thinking about charging a flat fee, $10 a month. However, obviously listening to some of the conversations from today does look like there are other opportunities in experimenting with pricing, but given we're just getting started, we're going to start with a standard pricing of $10 a month.
Absolutely. Now, yeah, so besides standard pricing, you know, you could actually explore other pricing models such as graduated pricing or even volume pricing. And you can do that all just by selecting these pricing models through the drop-down list. So this gives you lots of flexibility to experiment with different pricing models as your business grows. So we're just going to set you up here with $10 US. And another thing that you can do as you're considering selling a subscription overseas, you can also include, you also can configure your prices in other currencies as well. So just from the dashboard, you could set up prices in over 135 different currencies, just to kind of meet your customers where they are. And finally, right, you can also set up different billing periods ranging from daily all the way up to yearly, as well as custom periods that you don't see here in this list. So $10 US per month, and that's what we have here. We're going to go ahead and save your product. Right. Now that's done, you can kind of like see the details that's here. So here's off. I'm just wondering, have you considered offering your subscription on an annual basis, but then at a discount?
Yeah, actually, after listening to Chris's talk, I was thinking about how do I kind of look at multi-year agreements, multi-month agreements. So I'm definitely looking at offering some kind of a discount to get my customers incentivized on an annual contract.
Sure can. So let me just show you how you might do that here. So we're going to go ahead and click right into the pricing data setup, and we're just going to scroll all the way down to this upsell section. So right here, what we're going to do is we're going to create a new price, and we're going to set it to an annual subscription at a discount. So what happens later is that when at checkout, your customers will be able to see that there's an annual option at a discount, right? And that might actually drive up your average order value, as well as get customers incentivized to try your product for a longer period of time. So how much are you thinking of offering this subscription at?
I think we could offer an annual subscription at 105.
All right, 105 it is. So we're going to go ahead and add this price, and now we are done here. Cool. So now, I understand you're going to launch a product, this pretty soon. Have you thought of using a promotion campaign as part of this launch?
Yep, definitely. I think just based on the early feedback we have from some of our users, I do want to incentivize some of these customers to convert, and I want to offer a discount for my first 100 customers.
Can do. So let me just show you how that could be done. So back over to products, we're going to head over to coupons. So basically with coupons, what you can do is you can create your coupon. And basically this would, at the end of this, you get a coupon code that you can share with your customers that they can enter at checkout in order to get a discount. So we're just going to call this launch promo. So what kind of discount are you looking at offer? Are you looking at like fixed amount or percentage discount?
I think I want to offer 10% off on the first month.
Yep, alright, can do. So over here, right, we can definitely offer fixed or percentage, so that's 10%. Additionally, you can also limit this discount to selected products as well. So like you said, you're going to keep this to just the first month. And going down, you can also limit the number of times coupons could be redeemed to the first 100 users. Now, we're almost done. So next up, you want to create a user-friendly, rather a memorable coupon code that your customers can recall, and it's easy for them to key in. So what would you like to call it?
GPT 10 off.
Sounds good. Let me just do that. GPT 10 off. Awesome. Alright, we're gonna go ahead and create a coupon. Alright, now that your coupon is created, your product is created, let's go ahead and create a payment link, which essentially is a permanent link to a checkout page that you can share with your customers or even include it as part of your socials. So to do that, we're going to head over to the product that we just created. And you can create a payment link right by, just by clicking the button here. So I'm just going to go ahead and click this. And basically this will bring me to this page where I can configure the payment link. So I think what I find really cool about this page is that you actually get to get a peek at what the checkout page will look like. And as you can see here, basically at checkout, because we configure the upsell, what customers will see is that they actually have an opportunity to convert their monthly subscription to an annual subscription and save some money there. So, hey, speaking of which, right, have you thought of offering a free trial on your subscription?
Yep, definitely. I think free trials is a good way to get customers in the door.
Awesome. Yeah, so we can definitely do that right here on this page. So, how many days are you thinking of?
Let's start with the 7-day free trial.
Sounds good to me. Alright, and before we go, we're just going to go ahead and enable the promotion codes. So just so that your customers can add their promotion code at checkout. So once it's done, I'm going to... So one more thing I want to point out here is that we heard from Bickey about how it's important for businesses to be able to offer multiple payment methods. I think what's great is that you can actually configure all of that through this Stripe dashboard here. So anyway, we're going to go ahead and create this URL, grab this URL. I'm going to head over to our social page and just add it here, right? And there you go, right? In less than 10 minutes, I think you could get started and start making money.
Thanks, Amos. I think it's pretty cool. Without any kind of additional developer resources, you can actually go ahead and get set up in a no-code way with a landing page. You've got a payment link. You can toggle all of your payment methods through your Stripe dashboard, especially if you're looking to sell into the US, etc. There are going to be other payment methods relevant for B2B SaaS, ACH, bank transfers. Offering your customers that flexibility is going to be incredibly important. And at the same time, we provide easy ways to offer free trials, coupons, etc. So yeah, this is great. Under 10 minutes, I've got my payment page set up and I'm ready to start collecting some revenue. If you have any other questions about this or any of the other Stripe features that we showed today, please come over to our booth and have a chat. All right, back to you, Bickey.
Thanks, Sob and Amos. Can we get another round of applause for Sob, Amos, and the Wi-Fi here at the Marriott, because doing a live demo can always be a bit challenging. Okay, just a couple more things before I wrap up. Sob and Amos, please stay on stage. So we work, at Stripe, we work with businesses all over the world. SaaS is one of our big segments. You can see here, I'm sure you recognize many of these logos. We work with 75% of the kind of Forbes Cloud 100 list. I've been in Bangalore for 3 days, and I think I've spoken to maybe 2,000 SaaS companies during this time. The majority of them are using Stripe, particularly as they sell to the US and markets internationally. So that's great to hear. We thank all of you for using us. And as Sob said, please do come to our booth and find us and share any feedback you have. And if you're considering Stripe, again, come to our booth. We're just opposite the cool coffee stand, and not too far from the bar either. So hopefully you'll come across us. Just to recap, again, just saying stuff that we've discussed throughout this presentation. There's a lot more that you can find in the report. There's a lot more stuff you can find on stripe.com, and of course you can speak to all of us. But the 3 things we wanted to feature today. One is think about revenue recovery. As we know that churn and customers are looking to be a little bit more price sensitive, think about revenue recovery tools, whether you're using them or not, and how you might approach that. The second one is look at differentiated pricing models and plans, and consider free trials as a way to bring customers into your funnel. And then the final one, as you look to sell internationally, be there, make it convenient for your customers, think about local payment methods, and make sure that you have those activated, or you're working with a third party that's activating those on your behalf. Thank you very much.